Hi there, folks. This is just a little excerpt for Gregor's website. It's just to chat about things from a father's perspective. So, Tim, maybe you could tell everyone how it was for you.
Yeah. Hi, guys. So, I think, for anybody watching this, first of all, you might be sort of wondering how we sort of can be so open about what happened to our little boy, or our little son, Griogair. And I think in that sense it's been a blessing to us that we have been so open about it, because you have to talk about it. The old-fashioned way of keeping everything, at the back of your brain, really long-term really doesn't work. So the first thing I'd sort of say is, if you find yourself in this situation, and I hope you never do, but if you do, I'm not going to lie to you. It's
horrific.
It's horrific, yeah, and it's a roller coaster of emotion, and a roller. Your life is on hold. I mean, I had not that really matters at the time, because I'm self-employed, and I'm a professional musician. So obviously I had to cancel, all my work for I think it was about 5 months, if I remember rightly. I think I did one concert in the middle of when Isabel was in hospital, I think in Brighton, when he was in the Trevor Mann unit. I think I flew to Ireland for one concert. But so you've got a few things to juggle, and we had a 2.5-year-old child as well. We were very, very lucky because we had tremendous family support, and we're so lucky to have that. I think without that, I can't imagine
how it would have been.
It was a nightmare. But that sort of
it would have been even more of a nightmare if we hadn't had the support.
But I think as a sort of a father, and as a partner or a husband, a partner, obviously you're petrified that something will happen to your partner, because you're dealing with, Isabel had some horrific bleeds in the pregnancy, and that was absolutely terrifying, because I didn't know. I'm not a doctor. I've learned a lot about this since, and I tried to read about it at the time, but it was like a roller coaster. Isabel would have a bleed, she'd be taken into kept in hospital. You're suddenly thrown into this thing where you don't know if the baby's going to make it, and then
having to look after another
a 2-year-old, and then when all the stuff sort of really started to explode, if you like, when Isabel's waters broke very, very early, and that was
21 weeks.
Yeah, 21 weeks, and she was amazing, and so strong, and it's hard to describe it really, because you're driving into a hospital every day, trying to bring Ava, our daughter Ava, trying to bring Ava in to see her mummy, which isn't easy with a
2-year-old running around.
Poor Isabel was also, hospitals, get very hot. They all do, and it was summer in Kent, so it was very, very
incredibly hot.
And you're worried about Isabel, you're worried about your partner, and it's all out of your control. You're just riding, basically you're kind of riding an out of control wave. And I'm not religious in any sense. I'm an atheist, but I tell you, I became religious during that time, or maybe that's a wrong thing to say, but I became
Spiritually
spiritual.
aware, maybe?
I think I've always been spiritual, but yeah, spiritually aware, and I sort of was clutching at you clutch at every straw there is, because it's horrific, and I'm not going to lie to you. It's it's the hardest thing I've ever dealt with, and you wouldn't wish what we went through, particularly Isabel. I think as a dad, obviously you're going through the same thing, but you're not the one who carried that baby. You have if you like, a sort of psychological
distance, maybe?
distance,
a
perhaps.
slight distance from it.
Doesn't, you're still but yeah, I think mums and dads, you have that advantage that you obviously didn't have that connection with the baby, that you didn't carry it, but it doesn't.
It
change,
changed. It maybe changed though when you got to hold Griogair.
Yeah, that's not to say that I wasn't
think?
connected with Grego. I don't mean it like,
No,
I don't mean
no.
like that, but people will know what I mean. But yeah, when the other thing, of course, is I mean, the birth, Gregor's birth was unlike a normal birth. There were teams on standby, surgical.
Oh, there was a
teams
team
and,
waiting to take him to the NICU.
Yeah, and when he was born, I think the best way to describe it is kind of like something out of a sci-fi movie, because, I mean, we saw him for. I don't think Isabel saw him at all.
I did see him.
You did see
yeah.
him, yeah. Maybe for 10
Yeah.
seconds or something. You weren't allowed to hold him or anything.
No.
I mean, they literally rushed him off.
In an incubator.
We didn't know if he was alive or dead. We knew he was alive, but we for how long we didn't know. And they rushed him off, and they had to try and get all the medical, the paediatrician, the tubes and a ventilator, and lines, and it was crazy. It was like
I think we were in a state of shock, weren't we? It's safe to
Yeah.
say. It's safe to say we went into a state of shock after that.
Yeah, I certainly.
There was a lot to process and
you
a lot
were in
going
shock,
on.
and I was in shock, and
Yeah.
and there was all these people running around, and then he was put in a sort of
An incubator.
and whisked down to the NICU ward. And for anybody who's never been in a NICU ward, I mean, it's it's crazy. Well,
There's lots of sounds and beeps and things.
yes,
Lots of.
it's a very stressful situation.
Very stressful for
not
parents,
often,
but strange. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
After
should
a
we
while,
say.
you acclimatise to it, but you're not allowed to. Obviously, you want to
You've got to be very
touch your son,
hygienic.
and yes, you have to wash your hands every time you go in there. And you're it's an amazing place, because they literally keep
babies
alive.
Yeah.
And I mean literally, and these people that the doctors and nurses are just, I mean, incredible. And when we went down, when things deteriorated with Gregor, and they deteriorated one day, we were right. You're sort of riding a positive wave, and they say, oh, he's doing well today. His oxygen saps are up, and his levels and sodium and whatever all the medical jargon. And then you're kind of thinking, oh my goodness, this is amazing, wonderful. He's going to be all right. And then 24 hours later, you get a phone call, and it's a consultant who's set in, and they're saying, you've got to come back in now. And then Isabel and him were in a really high speed neonatal ambulance, which was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It's just like an ambulance, like an intensive care unit in an ambulance, literally. And neonatologists from Brighton, and they picked up Isabel with Gregor and took him down to Brighton, and I drove after them. I tried foolishly to keep up, but gave up after about 2 seconds. and that was very, very stressful because
Well, you had to drive
I drove myself,
yourself,
yeah.
which was a major stress when you've just found
Yeah.
out your son
Not a
has
great
had to have surgery.
Yeah.
Is going to have surgery, and he could
And he
technically
could die at
die
any
in
second,
the ambulance. So it was very touch and go, wasn't it?
And when I arrived there, Isabel had been there maybe an hour or something like this.
Yeah.
And it was a very, you knew immediately that you were entering a really, not the local hospital was very, very good, but there was a small intensive care. Now this was a
specialist
serious place, and you were like, oh my goodness. And suddenly there's a pediatric neonatal surgical team, come to take him, and we said goodbye to him in the in the elevator. Tiny little boy, you could hold him in one hand, and he was on this gurney or trolley, and they took him down, and I thought, oh, that's probably the last time we'll see him alive. I thought there's no way he's going to survive the anaesthetic, but he did. I mean, it was unbelievable. I think waiting for that, I'm sure you'd agree as
It was
well.
very, very stressful.
It was awful, wasn't it? It was horrendous.
It was the worst hour or two of our life.
Yeah, it was
maybe
and then
highly stressful.
Moving on, I think, but moving on into sort of practical things. I think I mean, we were really lucky because we had. We had huge financial sort of help from family. We had amazing accommodation help. I mean, we could never have afforded to have stayed in Brighton for a month. I mean, oh my goodness! I mean,
No.
You couldn't pick a more expensive place to, be in a hospital. But they were amazing. The Ronald McDonald
House charity.
Incredible. Every time you go through McDonald's and you see a little sort of donation box, don't ever think that that's just a willy-nilly charity or whatever. That's it's incredible.
It goes to housing lots of families and various
with
hospitals up and down
children,
the UK, and I think in Ireland
and
maybe
in
as well.
Ireland as well, yeah. And in America, I think it's
America,
worldwide.
Yeah.
I think it's all over the world.
Yeah.
But they were amazing, and
they looked after us.
But I think my sort of advice would be stay calm, because if you start to freak out, which I did at times, I don't think you'd be human if you didn't. But you can't, because the stress levels are.
They were through the roof at times, probably, weren't they?
They were. If you and in fact, I mean, some of the things, if you were to tell people who've never experienced anything like this, some of the things that we were asked to decide or to process, through no fault of our own, and no fault of the medics either. They were just doing their jobs. I don't think people would probably think you were making it up. You're faced with daily briefings and decisions about if your baby is going to survive, and if they're going to continue treating your baby, because it's a really complicated thing.